So let's take a look at this project. This project will involve an animation. So what'll happen is we'll look at the time frame and we'll add some keyframes here. Let me go back and you see if I run it, let me zoom in a little bit right here, right? And if you look at this cube, we have on the timeline some animation. Okay, I guess I have to go back a little bit. So you see what it's doing, it's animating between these three keyframes. So if I play, right, you see it's going to nicely smooth animation, right? Okay, this one's pretty simple, but we'll get more complicated as we go. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my startup file. So I'm going to go to open and I guess I'll save this and I'm going to open up the template. So I have a template for you, Blender template. And if you look, it has a startup file for you, right? So we got the normal things here. We got a setup, we got some lights, we got the material, and this is where we're going to do our animation. So if you look at it now, if I run it, right? So if I run this, I should get no errors, but good, no errors here, right? But if I go to modeling, you see there's nothing there because we didn't do any animation yet. So the other thing I want to show you is this frame one and frame 100. So leave frame one alone, but if you want to change the last frame, so for instance, if I wanted to go 150 and I run it, this will, if I go to my animation, you see it'll be from, so your animation will loop from 1 to 150 and it'll go back and loop around. So you can control that through the script. You could also go over here and change it. You see how it was changed when I ran it? Okay, so that is the intro. So let's get to animate. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a cube. So I'm going to just get some code from previous projects, and I'm going to make the material. I'm going to set the size of the cube, right? And then this is the make cube. So we've done this a lot of times, right? Making this cube, I'm going to give it a name, cube, and then I'm also going to give it the material. So if you run this, it should just make a nice cube right in the middle. You see it, right? So we've done that plenty of times. And I'm going to go to the animation part. So I'm going to write animation and I'm going to show you the steps in the animation. So the steps in the animation, again, I'm going to put some code here and you just have to copy it. It's not a lot. Is we have to set the frame, the keyframe. Where do we want the first keyframe to be, right? So I'm going to set it at 1. So this is should be the same every time. We want the keyframe from. Then we're going to get the object and we're going to set its location, right? And then we're going to, on that keyframe, make that set the location of the object. So these are the three things you need for every keyframe. Okay, so this will make a keyframe and set the object at 0, 0. Of course, that's not going to be good enough. We need another keyframe to do the animation. So I'm going to copy that and I'm going to now change the location of the object. I'm just going to change the X, right? So you see now I changed the X. So the second keyframe, but it can't be at 1, right? It has to be on a timeline. So I'm going to put 50. So 50, on frame 50, I'm going to make a keyframe and it's going to be a different location. And the other thing that I like to do, I want to set it back, right? So I'm going to go and do another one and I'm going to bring it back to 0. So look, we should have 3 keyframes for this cube. Location 0, 0, 10, 0, 0, and back to 0, 0. So now when I run it, right? So when I run the script, I'm going to go to my modeling and you see, well, the third one actually didn't show up for some reason. Let me see why, right? Uh, because I forgot to put a different keyframe. You see, I put it back to 1. So that should be 100. Anyway, that's my mistake, but anyway, you get the idea. Keyframe 1 at 50, keyframe 2 at, 1, 50, and 100. All right, let me try it again. And now you see I have 3 of them at 0, 50, and 100. So now if I just snap back and you see it will animate. So we have our first, oops, I keep on doing that. We have our first animation, right? So that is our start. But I want to do a little more than that, right? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to stop, right? I'm going to stop it and I want this to move more, right? I want to move more. So let's actually copy this, right? So it moved back to 0, 0. Let me do the Y part, right? So I'm going to go now and I'll say, okay, frame one. Now, actually, you know what? If you want these animations to be faster, then you make the keyframes closer together, right? So, but I'm going to go to 150, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change the Y to 50, excuse me, 10, right? And then I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to uh, change. I'm going to bring it, so bring it back to 0, 0, right? Bring it back to 0, 0 at 200, right? At 200. So now we're getting movement in the X and the Y direction. So let me run it and I'm going to go and I see we got more keyframes, right? I'm going to snap back here and let's take a look, right? So it's moving that X, remember that X, and now should move in the Y. Okay, but I didn't bring it back to 0, you see? So did I do Y and then see it didn't? Oh, okay, so that's what I want to do. I want to bring it back to 0 again. So I think I could just paste and bring that all back to 0. So you have smooth movement. You don't want that jerky movement, right? Oops, I think I have an extra comma. So there it goes. So you see now at 250, I send it back to 0. So I'm going to run and I'm going to check it out. So go to modeling, I'm going to snap back and let's see how it goes. Hmm. It looks like still didn't. Oh, oh, okay. So I got a little interesting here. I stopped my animation at 150. You see this gray area? So I really want to go to like 250, right? Now I could change it over here, right? But I'd rather do it in code. So I'm going to go over here and this needs to be 250 because I want to see more of it. So let's try that. And you might run into these kind of things. You see now it's 250, so that's better. So now I should see the whole thing. But this will happen to you too. The animation stops before it finishes, and that is because you cut off the last. You see there it goes 0. And I guess I got two zeros here for some reason. But anyway, you see uh, goes back to 0. Okay, so what I like you to do, I'm going to stop. What I like you to do, I like you to, we have the X, we have the Y, I want the negative Y, and I want the negative X, and I want the negative Y. So it goes here, to the right, back, and left, and then it animates, and then repeats, I should say. So that's your job. Okay, so I finished everything, and I corrected that double 0 position, which I saw, and I'm going to run this, right? And let's see what happens, right? I'm going to go to my modeling and I have all my keyframes. By the way, did you notice I did change my max to 400, right? Because I see down here I have 400, right? So make sure you do that. And then let's run. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and you see, let's see, right? I didn't check this out before, but let's see how it works. Okay, so that's smooth on that direction, right? And it goes back should come back smoothly, beautiful, and then to the left. All right. So here we go. And it should start repeating. There we go. So that is what you have to do. Okay, so submit the code for this, and that is the project.